The book of Job helps us to understand the following. Satan cannot bring financial and physical destruction upon us unless it is by God's permission. God has power over what Satan can and cannot do. It is beyond our human ability to understand the whys behind all the suffering in the world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Enjoy the video. Job was a man who lived in Uz. He was honest inside and out, a man of his word, who was totally devoted to God and hated evil with a passion. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He was also very wealthy. 7,000 head of sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, 500 donkeys, and a huge staff of servants, the most influential man in all the East. His sons used to take turns hosting parties in their homes, always inviting their 3 sisters to join them in their merrymaking. When the parties were over, Job would get up early in the morning and sacrifice a burnt offering for each of his children, thinking, maybe one of them sinned by defying God inwardly. Job made a habit of this sacrificial atonement, just in case they'd sinned. The first test: family and fortune. One day, when the angels came to report to God, Satan, who was the designated accuser, came along with them. God singled out Satan and said,
"What have you been up to?"
Satan answered God, "Going here and there, checking things out on earth." God said to Satan,
"Have you noticed my friend Job? There's no one quite like him. Honest and true to his word, totally devoted to God and hating evil."
Satan retorted, "So do you think Job does all that out of the sheer goodness of his heart? Why, no one ever had it so good. You pamper him like a pet. Make sure nothing bad ever happens to him or his family or his possessions. Bless everything he does. He can't lose. But what do you think would happen if you reached down and took away everything that is his? He'd curse you right to your face, that's what." God replied,
"We'll see. Go ahead. Do what you want with all that is his. Just don't hurt him."
Then Satan left the presence of God. Sometime later, while Job's children were having one of their parties at the home of the oldest son, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys grazing in the field next to us when Sabeans attacked. They stole the animals and killed the field hands. I'm the only one who got out alive, and to tell you what happened." While he was talking, another messenger arrived and said, "Bolts of lightning struck the sheep and the shepherds and fried them, burned them to a crisp. I'm the only one to get out alive and to tell you what happened." While he was talking, another messenger arrived and said, "Chaldeans came from 3 directions, raided the camels, and massacred the camel drivers. I'm the only one to get out alive and to tell you what happened." While he was still talking, another messenger arrived and said, "Your children were having a party at the home of the oldest brother when a tornado swept in off the desert and struck the house. It collapsed on the young people, and they died. I'm the only one to get out alive and to tell you what happened." Job got to his feet, ripped his robe, shaved his head, then fell to the ground and worshipped. "Naked I came from my mother's womb. Naked I'll return to the womb of the earth. God gives, God takes. God's name be ever blessed." Not once through all this did Job sin. Not once did he blame God. The second test: health. One day, when the angels came to report to God, Satan also showed up. God singled out Satan, saying,
"And what have you been up to?"
Satan answered God, "Oh, going here and there, checking things out." Then God said to Satan,
"Have you noticed my friend Job? There's no one quite like him, is there? Honest and true to his word, totally devoted to God and hating evil. He still has a firm grip on his integrity. You tried to trick me into destroying him, but it didn't work."
Satan answered, "A human would do anything to save his life. But what do you think would happen if you reached down and took away his health? He'd curse you to your face, that's what." God said,
"All right, go ahead. You can do what you like with him, But mind you, don't kill him.
Satan left God and struck Job with terrible sores. Job was ulcers and scabs from head to foot. They itched and oozed so badly that he took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself, then went and sat on a trash heap among the ashes. His wife said, "Still holding on to your precious integrity, are you? Curse God and be done with it." He told her, "You're talking like an empty-headed fool. We take the good days from God. Why not also the bad days?" Not once through all this did Job sin. He said nothing against God. Job's 3 friends. In the Bible, it says all 3 friends were old with white hair and white beards. 3 of Job's friends heard of all the trouble that had fallen on him. Each traveled from his own country. Eliphaz from Teman, Bildad from Shuhah, Zophar from Namath, and went together to Job to keep him company and comfort him. When they first caught sight of him, they couldn't believe what they saw. They hardly recognized him. They cried out in lament, ripped their robes, and dumped dirt on their heads as a sign of their grief. Then they sat with him on the ground. 7 days and nights, they sat there without saying a word. They could see how rotten he felt, how deeply he was suffering. Let's talk about Job's 3 friends: Eliphaz from Teman, Bildad from Shuhah, Zophar from Namath. They came to comfort him. All 3 wrongly assumed that Job's suffering was a result of some hidden sin. Important points to remember. Job's 3 friends believes that the unrighteous suffer. They denied the righteous suffers also. Eliphaz, the oldest and wisest of the 3, thought that Job have sinned, and that was why he was suffering. He based his conclusions on personal experience. Bildad thought Job was windbag and was just complaining. He based his conclusion on lives of the past generations, their fathers. Zophar tells Job that he should be grateful that he doesn't get punishment he deserves. None of the 3 friends used the Bible principles correctly. That 3 friends were afraid that they would suffer also. They denied that the righteous suffer. Satan's favorite way to control us is through fear. Let's stop right here and go over these frequently asked questions. FAQ. Why did God allow Job to suffer? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why am I going through this difficult situation? Why? Please understand, God doesn't operate by our standards or logics. His love, wisdom, and understanding goes far beyond ours. God's actions towards men and women are the results of His divine character. God is sovereign, so all that happens must have at least been allowed by Him, if not directly caused by Him. We must trust God even though we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in our lives. We must trust God not only when we don't understand, but because we do not understand. God restores Job. After God had finished addressing Job, He turned to Eliphaz, the Temanite, and said,
I've had it with you and your 2 friends. I'm fed up. You haven't been honest either with me or about me. Not the way my friend Job has. So here's what you must do. Take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my friend Job. Sacrifice a burnt offering on your own behalf. My friend Job will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer. He will ask me not to treat you as you deserve for talking nonsense about me, and for not being honest with me as he has.
They did it. Eliphaz from Teman, Bildad from Shuhah, Zophar from Namath did what God commanded, and God accepted Job's prayer. After Job had interceded for his friends, God restored his fortune and then doubled it. All his brothers and sisters and friends came to his house and celebrated. They told him how sorry they were and consoled him for all the trouble God had brought him. Each of them brought generous housewarming gifts. God blessed Job's later life even more than his earlier life. he ended up with 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 teams of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He named the first daughter Dove, the second Cinnamon, and the third Dark Eyes. There was not a woman in that country as beautiful as Job's daughters. Their father treated them as equals with their brothers, providing the same inheritance. Job lived another 140 years, living to see his children and grandchildren, 4 generations of them. Then he died, an old man, a full life. Keep in mind, every moment of our lives, it's just a sentence. The final chapter has not yet been written. When I look back through the years that I already lived, I thank God. The good, the bad, and the ugly has brought me back to where I am. Thus, everything works for our good to those that love the Lord. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Enjoy, and God bless you.